I was sitting in my cramped studio apartment, eating ramen for the third night in a row, when the certified letter arrived. The return address was from Harrington and Miles, a law firm I had never heard of. Inside was a single line that changed everything. Regarding the estate of Edward Langley inheritance valued at $135 million. I nearly choked. I did not know any Edward Langley. My name is Daniel Cole. I am 35 years old, and up until 18 months ago, I thought I had life figured out. I was a veterinarian in Maple Ridge, Oregon, married to my college sweetheart Lauren, and best friends with a guy named Tyler since 7th grade. Then I caught them together in my own bed in my own house on a Thursday afternoon when I came home early to surprise my wife with lunch. The divorce took everything. The house I had spent 5 years renovating with my own hands, the veterinary practice I had built from nothing. Even my 2 golden retrievers. She got it all. And Tyler, he got my wife. They married 2 months after the ink dried on our divorce papers. So when this letter arrived claiming some stranger had left me more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes, I thought it was a scam. Had to be. Guys like me do not inherit millions from uncles they have never met. But that phone number on the letterhead was real. The law firm was real. And what I was about to learn would make me question everything I thought I knew about my family. The secretary who answered had that kind of voice that made you sit up straighter even though she could not see you. "Mr. Harrington has been expecting your call, Mr. Cole. Can you come to our offices in Phoenix tomorrow?" I looked around my apartment. A mattress on the floor, a card table for a desk. Boxes I still had not unpacked because unpacking meant admitting this was permanent. "Is this real?" I asked her. "Very real, Mr. Cole, and very urgent. Mr. Harrington insists on handling this in person." 24 hours later, I was sitting across from a silver-haired lawyer who looked like he had never eaten ramen in his life, and he was sliding a photograph across his mahogany desk. It was a man who looked exactly like my mother standing next to a young boy at what appeared to be a birthday party. The boy was me. I was 5 years old in that picture. Mr. Cole, the lawyer, said that man is Edward Langley, formerly Edward Coleman. He was your mother Marilyn's older brother, and he has been watching over you your entire life. Life at 35 was not supposed to look like this. Just 18 months ago, I was Dr. Daniel Cole running a successful veterinary clinic in Maple Ridge, Oregon. I had the American dream right there in my hands. A beautiful 2-story house with the white picket fence I had installed myself, 2 golden retrievers named Max and Rosie who followed me everywhere, and what I thought was a loving marriage to Lauren. My parents George and Marilyn Cole had raised me with simple values in that same small town. Dad worked at the grain elevator for 40 years, coming home every evening covered in wheat dust, never complaining once. Mom was the school librarian who knew every kid's name and their favorite book. They taught me that hard work and loyalty meant everything. "Your word is your bond, Daniel," Dad would say while we fixed fence posts on weekends. "And the people you choose to stand beside define who you are. That is why I never saw the betrayal coming. Not from Tyler, not from Lauren. The friendship with Tyler went back to 7th grade. He was the new kid from Nevada, and everyone else treated him like an outsider. I shared my lunch with him that first day, and we became inseparable. We played high school football together, him as quarterback, me as his favorite receiver. We double-dated to prom. I was his best man when he married Megan, though that marriage only lasted 2 years. He was my best man when I married Lauren. We started our businesses the same year, making a pact to be successful together. While I opened my veterinary clinic on Main Street, he launched his accounting firm right next door. We even knocked a hole in the wall between our offices so we could share a break room. Every Tuesday we had lunch at Annie's Diner. Same booth, same waitress, same orders. Meatloaf special for him, chicken fried steak for me. Our families did Sunday barbecues in the summer. His new girlfriend of the month would come, and Lauren would roll her eyes at how young they kept getting. Lauren and I had been together since junior year at Oregon Valley University. She was studying marketing while I was in the pre-vet program. She was beautiful in that natural way, did not need makeup, could wear jeans and a t-shirt and still turn heads. She supported me through vet school, working 2 jobs so I could focus on my studies. When I graduated, she cried harder than my mother. "We did it, baby," she said. "We actually did it." The clinic was our dream together. She designed the logo, managed our social media, charmed the difficult clients. She had this way of remembering everyone's pet's name, their quirks, their favorite treats. People would bring their animals in just to chat with her. I performed the surgeries, administered the treatments, but Lauren was the heart of that place. Then came that Thursday in March. It was the first warm day after a brutal winter. I had performed 3 surgeries that morning and decided to grab takeout from Rossi's, Lauren's favorite Italian place, to surprise her at home. Her car was in the driveway. So was Tyler's truck. I figured he had stopped by to drop something off. He did. Our taxes was always bringing paperwork by the house. I walked in through the garage, like always holding that bag of food, calling out, "Honey, I brought lunch." The house was quiet. Max and Rosie were in the backyard, whining at the door. That should have been my first clue. They were never locked outside when Lauren was home. I found them in our bedroom, in our bed. The bed where we talked about having kids someday. The confrontation was ugly. Tyler tried to explain, stumbling into his jeans. Lauren just cried. Not because she was sorry, I realized later, but because she had been caught. "How long was all I asked?" 6 months, Lauren said quietly. 6 months. 26. Tuesday lunches, where Tyler had sat across from me eating meatloaf and listening to me talk about my marriage, my plans for our future. 26. Sundays of barbecues where they had found moments alone while I was grilling steaks and being the perfect host. The divorce was brutal. Oregon is a no-fault divorce state, but somehow Lauren's lawyer painted me as an absent husband, married to my work. She got the house I had renovated with my own hands, every floor I had refinished, every tile I had laid. She got half the business I had built from nothing. She even got custody of Max and Rosie, claiming I worked too many hours to properly care for them. Tyler got my wife. They married 2 months after our divorce finalized in the church where Lauren and I had exchanged vows. I heard about it from my sister Sophie, who saw the announcement in the paper. They kept his accounting firm and my old veterinary clinic right next to each other, the hole in the wall between them, like a wound that would not close. The letter from Harrington and Miles arrived on a Tuesday, exactly 18 months after my world imploded. My hands shook as I read it 3 times, then a 4th. Edward Langley. The name meant absolutely nothing to me. Not a distant memory, not a family story told at Thanksgiving. Nothing. I called the number on the letterhead, expecting to reach some scammer's boiler room. Instead, a secretary with a crisp, professional voice answered on the first ring. Harrington and Miles Estate Planning Group. How may I direct your call? This is Daniel Cole. I received a letter about an inheritance from someone named Edward Langley. Oh, Mr. Cole, Mr. Harrington has been expecting your call. Can you come to our offices in Phoenix tomorrow? It is urgent that we handle this matter in person. Phoenix, that's a long drive. Can we not handle this over the phone? Mr. Harrington insists this be handled face-to-face. All your expenses will be covered. And I assure you, Mr. Cole, you will want to make this trip. Can I schedule you for 200 tomorrow afternoon? I looked around my pathetic apartment at the security guard uniform hanging on the back of my door. I have to work. Mr. Cole, I do not think you understand. Once you meet with Mr. Harrington, work will no longer be a concern. I used a sick day, my first in 8 months. My supervisor grumbled but approved it. My 2011 Ford pickup rattled its way to Phoenix, burning oil the whole way. The check engine light that had been on for 3 months glowing like a beacon of my failures. I stopped twice to add coolant, praying the radiator would hold together just a little longer. The law firm occupied the entire 30th floor of a glass tower in downtown Phoenix. The elevator alone was nicer than my apartment. When the doors opened, I stepped into a world of marble floors, leather chairs that probably cost more than I made in a month, and original artwork that belonged in museums. Gregory Harrington looked like money incarnate. Silver hair, perfectly styled, a suit that fit like it was painted on cufflinks that caught the light. He stood when I entered, extending a manicured hand that had never changed oil or birthed a calf. "Daniel, thank you for coming. Please sit. Can I offer you anything? Water, coffee, something stronger?" "Just answers," I said, sinking into a chair that felt like a cloud. He pulled out a thick folder, handling it like it contained state secrets. "What I am about to tell you will sound impossible, but every word is true. Edward Langley was your mother's older brother. He left home when he was 18. This was 1967. Your mother, Marilyn, was only 10 years old at the time. My mother never mentioned a brother named Edward. She said she was an only child. That is what your grandparents wanted everyone to believe." Harrington pulled out an old photograph, black and white, edges yellowed. "This is Edward Coleman at 17 with your mother when she was 9. I stared at the photo. The resemblance was undeniable. The same nose, the same kind eyes, the same way of tilting their heads when they smiled. This was my mother's brother. Why have I never heard of him? Why would my grandparents hide an entire person?" Harrington sighed, choosing his words carefully. "Edward was gay. Mr. Cole. In 1967, rural Kansas. In your grandparents' world, that was not just unacceptable. It was unthinkable. Your grandparents, Walter and Helen, gave him an ultimatum. Seek conversion therapy, marry a woman, live a lie, or leave and never come back." My mind reeled. Grandpa Walter, who taught me to fish, who carried me on his shoulders at the county fair, had exiled his own son. Grandma Helen, who made quilts for every grandchild who never missed a birthday, had erased her firstborn from existence. Edward chose to leave. He moved to Seattle, changed his last name from Coleman to Langley, and built a fortune in real estate. He never married, never had children, but he never forgot his little sister Marilyn. Harrington pulled out more documents, spreading them across his desk like evidence in a trial. He hired investigators to keep tabs on your family. Discreet surveillance, nothing invasive. He knew when you were born, when you graduated veterinary school, when you married Lauren. He also knew about your divorce and what Tyler and Lauren did to you. He was watching us all this time. Watching over you would be more accurate. He attended your college graduation, sat in the back row. He was at your wedding in the parking lot. He knew about every milestone, every triumph, every heartbreak. Why did he not ever reach out? Why did he not just pick up the phone? Pride, fear, shame. Maybe all three. He had been told he was dead to his family. After decades, that becomes truth, even when it is not. Harrington slid a tablet across the mahogany desk with the care of someone handling precious glass. "Before we proceed with the inheritance, Edward wanted you to watch this. He recorded it 2 weeks before he passed away in November." The screen flickered to life. The man in the video was frail, propped up in what looked like a high-end hospice bed connected to oxygen tubes, but his eyes were sharp and incredibly kind. He looked like an elderly version of my mother. The same gentle features, the same way of pressing his lips together when thinking. "Hello, Daniel. I am your Uncle Edward, though I suppose that sounds strange to hear." His voice was weaker than I expected, but carried a warmth that reached through the screen. "I have watched you from afar your entire life. Every report card, every baseball game, every moment that mattered. I was there in the back row when you graduated from veterinary school. You wore a blue tie that kept coming undone. Your mother fixed it 3 times before the ceremony." My throat tightened. I remembered that tie, remembered being annoyed at how it would not stay straight. I ate at Annie's Diner every Tuesday for a month just to see you laugh with that traitor Tyler. You always ordered the chicken fried steak extra gravy, and you would steal his fries when he was not looking. You seemed so happy then. You had no idea what was coming. He paused to catch his breath, the oxygen machine humming in the background. I know what it is like to lose everything because of who you are, or in your case, because you trusted too much. Your grandparents threw me away like garbage because I could not love the way they demanded. But from that garbage, Daniel, I built an empire. Not out of spite, though there was plenty of that at first, but out of necessity. When you have nothing, you learn to create everything. Edward adjusted himself in the bed, wincing slightly. The money is yours. All $135 million of it. But Daniel money is not the real gift I am leaving you. The real gift is what I learned too late. That revenge is not worth the energy it consumes, but success. Real success is the best response to betrayal. He held up a photograph to the camera. It was me at my veterinary clinic's opening day, cutting the ribbon with those giant scissors, Lauren beside me. Tyler applauding in the crowd. You build something beautiful once. They took it from you, but they could not take your talent, your compassion, your ability to heal. Those things are yours forever. The money I am leaving you is just a tool. What you build with it, that is the real inheritance. The video continued. Edward talked about my mother, how he had secretly attended her wedding, standing across the street from the church, crying behind sunglasses. He talked about the first time he saw me, a photograph a private investigator had taken when I was 3 days old. I hired investigators not to spy, but to be part of your life in the only way I could. Every report, every photograph, every piece of information was a lifeline to the family I had lost, or thought I had lost. Your mother never knew I was watching. I wonder now if I should have been brave enough to call her to test whether her love was stronger than our parents' prejudice. He coughed, took a moment to sip water through a straw. But here is what I need you to understand, Daniel. I also bought something else for you. Check the addendum to the will. Gregory Harrington will explain everything. The video had more, but Harrington paused it and handed me another document. My eyes scanned the legal language until I found the list of properties. Then I had to read it again because it could not be right. He bought your old veterinary clinic. I gasped. 6 months ago through a shell company called Canyon Ridge Holdings LLC. The sellers never knew who the real buyer was. But that is not all. He also purchased Tyler's accounting firm. The entire building. Actually, he bought it from the previous landlord who was retiring to New Mexico. I kept reading. This says he also bought my old house. The one Lauren got in the divorce. Yes. Purchased it 4 months ago when she and Tyler fell behind on the mortgage. They have been renting from Edward's company without knowing it. They think their landlord is a property management firm in Spokane. My mind raced through the implications. So I own the building where they work and the house where they live as of the moment you sign these papers. Yes. Their commercial leases expire in 30 days. The residential lease has a 60-day clause. You can choose to renew, raise the rent to market rate, or decline to extend the leases. It is entirely your decision. I stared at the documents. Complete power over the 2 people who destroyed me, handed to me by an uncle I had never met. Why would Edward do this? Keep watching. Harrington said, starting the video again. Edward's face reappeared on the screen. But now there was something different in his expression, a sharpness that had not been there before. Daniel, I have arranged something special. In 30 days, the rental agreements expire. The new owner can choose to renew or not. But before you make any decisions about revenge, I want you to meet someone very important to me. Harrington pressed an intercom button on his desk. Send in Miss Barnes. The door opened and a woman in her 60s entered, elegant, despite walking with a carved wooden cane. She had silver hair pulled back and a perfect, shiny, and kind eyes that seemed to see right through me. She moved carefully but with dignity, like someone who had learned to carry pain without letting it show. Daniel, I am Carol Barnes. I was Edward's best friend for 40 years, his chosen family when his blood family was taken from him. She settled into the chair beside me, placing her cane against the armrest. Edward wanted me to tell you something he could not put in the video, something he discovered 3 years ago. She pulled out her own folder, weathered and worn like she had carried it for miles. 3 years ago, Edward attended a banking conference in Portland. Real estate developers, accountants, investors, all gathering to discuss market trends. He was at the hotel bar when he heard familiar laughter. Cruel laughter. It was Tyler. My stomach turned to ice. Tyler was drunk, surrounded by other accountants holding court like he owned the place. Edward sat close enough to hear everything. Tyler was bragging about his biggest achievement. Want to know what it was? I could not speak, just nodded. He said, and I am quoting from the investigator's recording I have been skimming from my clients for 5 years. They are all too stupid to notice. Started with small amounts, just testing the waters. Now I am pulling $18,000, $22,000 a month. The best part is my setup. I have got the perfect cover working next to that sanctimonious veterinarian. Everyone thinks I am the responsible one, the trusted accountant next door to the bleeding heart animal doctor. My hands clenched into fists. He was stealing before the affair. The affair was never about love. Daniel Edward had his investigators dig deeper after that night. Tyler had been planning this for years. He pursued Lauren specifically to hurt you. There are emails, text messages to his college roommate dating back 3 years before the affair started. He wrote, "Getting close to the wife. She is buying every word. When this is over, I will have his practice, his woman, and his life." Carol pulled out a flash drive, small and black, unremarkable, except for what it contained. Every piece of evidence is on here. Embezzlement records, falsified tax documents, fraudulent transfers. He has stolen over $900,000 from 19 different clients, mostly elderly people who trusted him with their retirement savings. "Mrs. Harris?" I asked, remembering the sweet old woman who always brought cookies to our offices, lost $45,000. She does not know yet. Neither does Mr. Garcia, who lost $70,000 from his daughter's college fund, or the Parkers, who lost their entire savings for their disabled son's care. Harrington interjected. "The FBI's white-collar crime division already has a file started. They have been investigating based on anonymous tips, but they need concrete evidence to move forward. This flash drive contains everything they need." I stared at the small device that could destroy Tyler completely. "What about Lauren? Was she involved?" Carol's expression softened slightly. No evidence she knew about the embezzlement, but she knew about the affair being calculated. There are text messages where she tells her sister. Tyler says, "If we play this right, we will get everything in the divorce. He knows exactly what buttons to push with Daniel." The video resumed. Edward was speaking again, his final message. "Daniel, you have 3 choices. You can turn Tyler into the FBI and let justice take its course. You can use your ownership of their properties to make their lives miserable, death by 1,000 paper cuts. Or you can walk away clean knowing you have already won. You have everything they wanted. Wealth, power, freedom." He leaned forward slightly, as much as his frail body would allow. "I spent 40 years focusing on revenge against those who hurt me. I bought my childhood home and turned it into a landmark just so my parents would have to drive past it and see my name on the plaque. I bought the church that expelled me and donated it to an LGBTQ youth shelter. These victories felt good for a moment, but they kept me chained to people who did not deserve my energy. Do not make my mistake, Daniel. Whatever you decide, make it quickly and then move on. Build something magnificent not to spite them, but to honor yourself and the future you deserve." The video ended. The room was silent except for the distant hum of Phoenix traffic 30 floors below. I sat in that Phoenix office for another hour holding the flash drive that could destroy Tyler completely. Carol watched me quietly while Harrington organized papers. Finally, I made my decision. "I need to make a phone call," I said. Harrington pushed his phone across the desk. I dialed the FBI's Phoenix office and asked for the white-collar crime division. 20 minutes later, I was speaking with Special Agent Collins, who had been working the case for 18 months. "We have been waiting for this evidence," Collins said when I explained what I had. "Can you bring it to our office today?" After the FBI, I called my brother Ethan in Georgia. "Pack your bags," I told him. "Remember when we were kids and talked about running a veterinary hospital together? Well, I just got the funding." "Daniel, what are you talking about? Are you okay?" "I am better than okay. We are going to build the largest veterinary hospital in Oregon. Full service, emergency care, specialists, everything. And we are going to have a program where 1 day a week all services are free for families who cannot afford pet care." 6 months later, I stood in front of the Summit View Animal Hospital in Redwood Falls. The building was 3 stories of glass and stone with state-of-the-art surgical suites, rehabilitation pools, and even an end-of-life comfort center where families could say goodbye to their pets in peace. We employed 12 veterinarians, 20 technicians, and a full support staff. Ethan ran the business side while I served as chief veterinary officer. Tyler was serving 5 to 7 years in federal prison for embezzlement and fraud. The FBI found more victims than even Edwards investigators had discovered. 25 clients in total, over $1.3 million stolen. Lauren lost everything in the asset seizure. The house, the cars, the jewelry Tyler had bought with stolen money, all gone. She moved back with her parents in Iowa. She reached out once, a tearful voicemail about how sorry she was, how she never knew about the embezzlement, how Tyler had manipulated her too. I deleted it without responding. My mother finally told me about Edward after I showed her his video. She sat at her kitchen table and cried for 3 straight hours, clutching a tissue box like a lifeline. "I was 10 when he left," she said. "Mom and Dad told me he died in a car accident in Nevada. They even held a memorial service. I spent more than 50 years mourning a brother who was alive the entire time. We flew to Seattle together and scattered some of Edward's ashes in the Capitol Hill neighborhood where he had found acceptance and built his life. The rest we scattered at his Victorian house, which was being converted into a shelter for LGBTQ youth who had been rejected by their families. But the strangest part came 3 weeks after the hospital opened. Mom had brought over old family albums to decorate my new office. We were going through them when I found a picture from my 5th birthday party. There, in the background, barely visible behind a tree, was a man in a baseball cap and sunglasses watching from across the street. "Mom, who is that?" She squinted at the photo, then gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Oh my God, that is Edward. He was there." We spent the next 6 hours going through every family photo we could find. Edward was in 17 of them. My high school graduation, standing by the gymnasium exit, my college acceptance day, sitting in a parked car across from our house, my wedding. In the very last pew of the church, head bowed like he was praying, always in the background, always watching over me. The veterinary hospital has a bronze plaque in the lobby that reads, "In memory of Edward Langley, 1949-2025, who taught us that love watches from afar. Justice arrives in time, and the best revenge is a life well lived." Carol became like family to us. She moved to Redwood Falls and volunteers at the hospital's free clinic days. Over dinner one night, she said something that changed my perspective forever. Edward spent almost 60 years believing he was alone because his family rejected him. He never realized he could have come home to Marilyn any time. She would have welcomed him with open arms. Do not wait 60 years to realize you are already home. Daniel. The money did not fix my broken heart or erase Tyler's betrayal, but it gave me the power to choose my response. I chose to build rather than destroy, to heal rather than hurt. And somewhere I believe Uncle Edward is still watching, finally at peace, knowing his death brought our family back together in a way his life never could. If you found this story meaningful, please give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear that success really is the best revenge. Comment below with your thoughts on second chances and family secrets. And do not forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories of redemption and justice.